Coal is our largest source of domestic energy. About 50% of our total generation is from coal. Coal has a couple of downsides that are problematic. One, it's a high carbon fuel, so we need to find a way to get rid of the carbon by either sequestration or by other technologies. We also need to address the mercury that's in coal. Because these coal deposits were laid down when there was a lot of volcanoes on the earth, there's a lot of mercury and other toxic metals in the coal, and they have not been properly controlled. And there's an effort by EPA right now to regulate mercury emissions from coal. And if we had those kind of emissions regulations in place and had a carbon capture and sequestration program in place, coal could potentially be part of that solution. Nuclear is another interesting energy source right now, and there's certainly a lot of discussion about that. In my earlier days, I was part of the Governor's Energy Commission, and I headed an oversight agency for the state legislature in Pennsylvania during the TMI accident. So I lived through a meltdown of a single nuclear reactor, and I know the trauma that caused my community. I actually lived, I could see the cooling towers on TMI, so you can imagine how we felt during that experience. And so I can hardly even imagine what it's like to have 3 reactors going south in various stages of meltdown. And the information that's flowing out from Japan is not reassuring. Just this morning I learned that there's also one of the storage areas where the waste, the spent fuel is being stored is apparently on fire as well. So things are really going badly there. This is truly the worst case scenario where you lose the ability to generate electricity, you lose the ability to pump water, and where all your fail-safe systems are starting to break down one by one. The batteries have gone dead. The diesel fuel generators have gotten flooded out from the tsunami. Just about everything you could possibly imagine that could go wrong did go wrong there. And so the Japanese are really in for a rough time. You know, we forget about what happened in Chernobyl, but there's 1 million people that were exposed to radiation from Chernobyl. And just this past year, there was a study came out that showed about 1 million people have premature death as a result of the exposure to the radiation there. And there are people farming areas, it's about the size of the state of New Jersey, where they're farming these areas, and the soils are so contaminated that they actually shouldn't be producing food off this land. And yet there's still a lot of that that's going on there. So Chernobyl is not what we're building today. We're building a much safer reactor. I think Westinghouse, for example, has a design that could, in fact, solve some of the problems that we're seeing in Japan right now because it has a way of releasing water to flood the reactor in the case of a dire emergency like that. So there are some solutions. I don't want to, suggest that nuclear is going to be taken off the radar screen or anything like that, but I think we desperately need to find a way to handle the waste materials. We're storing all the waste that we've ever produced from all the nuclear reactors at the reactor site. And that's what's actually burning in Japan right now. The storage building that holds those spent fuel rods is on fire because of the overheating, because they don't have water. So that's not a safe way of storing nuclear waste, and we need to solve that problem. We need to find the political will in this country to tackle that, and it's something that we've been advocating for a long time. So there are problems with nuclear. They can possibly be solvable, but we have not yet found the pathways forward on that. So that leaves 2 things that I want to mention. One is renewable energy. Senator Lugar talked about the Empire State Building. A company that we work closely with, Sirius Materials, produced the windows for the Empire State Building, and I know that those windows have an R9 value, which is similar to what people have in their houses, in their walls, and in some of the older homes. So it's a much more efficient window system, and will save about 30% of the energy in that building. But we can do that with every building in this country if we create the right incentives. We should be able to cut our total energy use by 30%. We also, for the first time, have started to make progress on automobile fuel efficiency standards. For 18 years, we fought to get those standards put in place, and for 18 years, we were rebuffed from having more efficient automobiles. I drive a Prius that gets 50 miles to the gallon, And there's no reason we all can't be driving cars that are getting 50 and plus miles per gallon. And I'm very excited now with the electric cars coming along. Elon Musk, who is one of our supporters at National Wildlife Federation, has a car called the Tesla. And the Tesla now gets 300 miles per charge. The new Tesla he just announced last week. And the Tesla, I've ridden in the Tesla, and it's a great car. It goes from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, so it can put you in the seat pretty quickly. But the most important thing about it is that the Tesla can operate, and these other cars can operate without being dependent on foreign oil, without being addicted to these other fuels. And if we produce the electricity by wind and solar and geothermal and other technologies, we can avoid the carbon problems in that automobile transportation system. So here's the upshot for me. I think it's time America develops an energy policy and has one that actually moves us in a direction of being self-sufficient, of paying as we go, protecting the human and natural environment, and strengthening our economy. And to my mind, that's something that we all ought to be working for. And so I appreciate the work that you're doing here on that very issue. There are many, many opportunities for solutions, but we need to be willing to work together. The Republicans, Democrats need to get together and find a solution that works for every American, because it's all of our families. I've shared this with a few of you, but about a year or so ago, I had my middle daughter came to me, and she was having in a few days, she was going to have her baby, her first child. And she said, Dad, I'd like you to come into the delivery room, and I'd like you to cut the umbilical cord. And I gotta tell you, when my wife and I had our 3 kids, I had to go through training and classes and all that. Well, today it's sort of like come one, come all, you know. And she had several of her friends, several of her women friends in the room, and I was there to witness this moment. And I saw this little guy coming out, and I got to tell you, it was a bittersweet moment. You know, here was the birth of my 3rd grandson, and I'm witnessing this. And he's leaving the safest place that he will ever be in, and entering a place that we're making much more dangerous by the day, by our failures to be responsible on energy policy, our failures to solve real problems. And it was with a tear in my eye that the doctor turned to me and said, hand me a pair of scissors. And I must have been hesitating, contemplating this very thing. This is what I was thinking about when my grandson was born, and rededicating myself to addressing this important issue, this issue that will jeopardize his future if we don't act. And I stood there for perhaps a moment, and the doctor finally said, well, are you going to do it? And with that, I cut this umbilical cord of this precious little one with a promise that I'm going to recommit myself to solving this problem, to protecting the planet, the health of the planet, to figuring a way forward, and to committing myself to work with people on both sides of the aisle to solve this urgent problem. And Roberta, I again say thanks to you and to the Christian Coalition for your good work. And it's, Boyden, it's great to see you here. So. But at any rate, I'll be around later for some questions and comments, but thank you for the time, and I look forward to continue to work with you.